All right, good evening, everybody. We'd like to start, and right now I'd like to turn this microphone over to the very energetic and the very well-traveled Mr. Mark Laurie.
Thank you for that. Did you say, was it handsome too?
Yeah.
Handsome, okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for coming to tonight's work session. We have a very packed agenda. I'm going to ask our speakers and presenters to be very mindful of their time and presentation. We have a lot to get through and a lot of reports to make, but we appreciate that you're here. First of all, as I like to do each and every meeting, I'd like to welcome the woman who has not missed one of my board meetings in 11 years, Mrs. Macri. Are you on? Mike Macri's mother, thank you. Hello, Susie Macri. You're kind of like my good luck charm to start a meeting. We appreciate it. And we have a special segment coming up for you in honor of your son being an electrician. We're going to do that a little bit later in the meeting with Mr. Pareto and Mr. Bilson. But on a much more serious note, just a few announcements before we begin the meeting in earnest. First of all, I just wanted to say Godspeed to our board member, Brad McLeod's mom. She has been doing an incredible job battling an illness. And Mr. McLeod, we have you all in our prayers, especially your extremely tough mom who is working hard and is an inspiring story. So as she returns from an illness. Sadly, I do want to mention someone that passed this week, a real prominent figure in the community, someone who gave and gave and gave and gave and gave. I know we'll probably adjourn the meeting in her honor next 2 weeks. But Candace Casaro passed away this past week, sadly. Ms. Casaro was a member of the Kiwanis Club, and all I can tell you is that for years and years and years, the Kiwanis Club has provided anywhere between $8,000 and $15,000 worth of scholarships to our Niagara Falls School District students. And she was a great giver, a good person, and will be sorely missed, but her memory will live on. Her daughter-in-law works for us as a teacher, Kathy Burke, and her son, I believe, is a member of the Niagara Falls Fire Department. So we wish you resting in peace, Ms. Casaro. Our friend Harjat is not here because she is in Albany working. Again, she's an amazing student. Harjat is a Kiwanian. She's Secretary General of the state, and that's what she's doing today. But I also want to mention, and I will get you more information on this when I find out the exact time. Next Friday at Niagara Falls High School, Harjat will receive an award from the New York State Senate as the Senate youth leader. So Harjat goes to Niagara Falls High School. She's our board member, amazing student. When we had the Say Yes event about a week ago, just stole the show with her comments and talked about how important that initiative is. And we hit a home run when the high school selected Harjat as our board member. I would also like to congratulate Ms. Buckman, Cataract, who's here, and Hyde Park, who's not here. What a terrific pre-K audit we had. We had the pre-K state auditor in this week, and the schools chosen were Cataract and Hyde Park. We're going to get a perfectly clean audit, and I just want to thank those pre-K teachers, administrators, staff, non-instructional people at Hyde Park and Cataract, and Ms. Buckman for leading it. Great job, great pre-K audit. I also want to tell you, one of the most impressive pieces of security that we have continues to be this program called Zero Eyes. Zero Eyes is, Ray could certainly articulate this better than I, but Zero Eyes to me is a film that goes over our cameras, and it instantaneously picks up anything that looks like a gun. I'm so thankful we have not had any of those, but it's so sensitive that even if it is a toy gun or a water gun, it picks it up. And I say that to anybody whoever might be listening and has a terrible thought, but I say that also to our parents. Rest assured that that would be stopped hundreds of feet before someone even got to the door and faced our next security system. I'm really impressed with this zero eyes technology. And members of the board, we will, as I said, we have a number of topics. There will be no executive session necessary this evening, but we do have a lot of topics. Before we do our celebration topic, I do want to address something at the onset of the meeting. As I'm sure most of you know, this week we had a very, very unfortunate incident at Gaskill Prep School. Some extremely inappropriate, awful joke was made to students. I apologize to the students. I apologize to the parents and families. I apologize to the community. That's not who we are about, what we are about, and who we are. I believe we acted as swiftly as we possibly could. I believe that it shows that we take this very seriously, that it's not to be tolerated, that it's not acceptable, and that we had to immediately take action, which is 3 or 4 days is kind of unheard of in any situation. But we took swift action. We'll continue with follow-up action with New York State, which the board has no jurisdiction over, and there will be some additional steps that will be taken. So we're still very much in the healing process of that, but my apologies to the 2 students, the whole Gaskill and Niagara Falls City School District body, students, staff, teachers, the parents of the students involved, the community in general. I'm sorry. That shouldn't happen. It's on my watch. I take it very seriously. And I believe we don't hide behind the cloak of, it's a personnel item, I can't talk about it. Nothing infuriates me more than someone says that. You can talk about it to an appropriate level. I'm never going to hide behind that cloak. And I don't believe we did. But I do want to acknowledge the incident. And I do want to say that the one thing that we can always do is continue to learn, continue to educate ourselves, to continue to uncover our biases, and to continue to strengthen the way we handle situations and we work with our students. They deserve the best. And again, to put closure to that, I apologize. And we'll continue to put good closure and then positive actions moving forward. So thank you very much for allowing me to express that. Moving ahead, we're going to do something, well, we're going to do something at least for the next 110 days and 2 hours while I'm here. Not that I was counting, but I've had a few minutes off the last couple of days, so I had to fill my time, looking at YouTube videos of electricians and singers, Mr. Bilson, Gene Simmons and things like that. But what I'd like to do, we've focused on the high school a couple of weeks ago and their graduation rate. We focused on 79th Street coming off our school improvement list. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we focused on Gaskill's great achievement in their cells as they move up. And we've had Cataract Elementary present to us at our weekly evolution meeting. And I wanted to just, with the staff here, say tremendous job. Ms. Manella and her team have presented a lot of good information to us. A lot of things are trending in the positive. And we want 5 minutes or so just to have her highlight some of the positives of Cataract with the knowledge and understanding, and I know she'll admit this, that there's always things to work on. There are always places that she's seeking improvement on, and the staff is seeking improvement on. But if we don't start celebrating and championing all of our good things, we're missing a very vital piece of what school districts and organizations should do. So, Ms. Manella, your best 6 minutes.
We'll say 16.
6.
Thank you for having us. We're very proud to be here. I'm accompanied by Mr. Crisaro, the assistant principal, Ms. Mr. Matthew, Lori, the dean, and we have some staff joining us we're very thankful for. We have parent-teacher conferences tonight, so we're engaged in that, so not all of our staff was able to join today. So without further ado, we're going to go right with Mr. Crisaro and get going on the first slide.
I've got 30
Tell
seconds,
us
Mr.
story
Lori.
and pictures. Story and pictures.
I have 30 seconds of that, 6 minutes. It's an honor and pleasure to begin what I saw up there as a celebration. I love seeing that cataract celebration. Under leadership of Angela Manila and leadership team and all these people, we are making great gains that you're going to hear about. It's a two-part phase that we've been looking at to increase these gains. The first one is an academic component. And the academic component is we're addressing the students that are in need by looking at data, asking teachers, and then putting them in our after-school program to help them. But not only that, we're also looking at our enriched kids who are doing well, but we want to keep them doing well, so they also are being addressed by our after-school program and other programs within our school that will be talked about. The second component is the social-emotional learning. We do know that's such an important part to learning that we put a lot of emphasis on that through our counselors with their curriculum and some outside organizations keeping that program going forward. So in review, we have a two-component, both academic and social-emotional learning.
Thank you, Mr. Crisaro. One of the things that I can add to that we just finished a hand calculation of 60 students for that targeted program that he's talking about we had 30 in enrichment and 30 in remediation. And I'm happy to report for enrichment, 78% of those students had substantial gains in achievement. It's been a historically underserved population and the population that is the most difficult to show growth in. So we're very proud of that. We had RIT gains of upwards of 33 Rosh units, and our iReady, the top iReady gains was 47 points with that. And our remedial students, we had an 85% gains there. 65 points in iReady math was the high end, 57 points for the other, and 26 Rosh units in NWA, which leads us to NWA here. It's important to note that these are mid-year gains. It's from September to now only. NWA services reading scores for K-3 only. This is a great report. Mr. Lori loves it. Just tells the story. This is NWA growth. What NWA tells us is that diamond there is what the projected growth should be. Okay? And what we want to see is either the diamond in the blue or touching the blue. You never want to see the opposite. You never want to see a diamond floating up where no blue is. So as you can see, great gains there. You can go ahead and flip.
I love that because you could see that, because I'm looking for the diamond and I want to see all blue. I want to see that diamond buried in the blue. So I love that slide.
With folders, you have exact grade level data in your folder on your dashboard. So if you have any questions in the future, you certainly can reach out. So this is our mid-year growth reading report. Again, this is intermediate students only because NWA is K-3. This is 4, 5, and 6. So this is pretty substantial. We've seen with our Wonders program the last several years, we're at 73% of our students are on track for their typical growth right now. If you look at the colored report, it tells you the from to the to, so you can very easily see where we were in the fall to the gains that we've made just mid-year there for reading. That's intermediate. Go ahead, Mr. Grenier, you can go ahead. So now for math, I know probably the first thing you see is that number went from 70-something to 40-something, right? So we do have a little bit of an implementation gap here for math because the program just started a short time ago comparative to our ELA program, the resource that we're using to teach the standards, but still significant gains there that you can see in the parentheses. So that the 73 to 47, that accounts for that. So we do a lot of work with attendance, and we could talk a whole nother hour on that, but what we wanted you to see is our subgroups and the gains that we've made over 3 years. Again, our 25-26 end line is up to last Friday when we made the graph. We got as close as we could. So you can see on the left, we are currently, our attendance rate is 3% over the district average. Our black subgroup has increased by 1.5%, 4.4 for multiracial, and 2.6 for Hispanic.
That's really important because those are two of the cells that we're struggling with, multiracial and Hispanic cells. So we're put a particular emphasis on those cells. So to see that growth there is really, really good.
You're going to really love the next one.
Oh boy.
In our discipline slide. So here we go. This, we can't talk about attendance without talking about chronic absenteeism. You can see on the far left the high rate. Hispanic was near 70%, which just 2 years ago. So it went down 33.4%. The chronic absenteeism, multiracial group, those cells are there inside, and we are currently 7% lower than the district average there for chronic absenteeism. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Matthew Laurie, who's going to talk about our discipline data.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Manella. Good evening, everyone. It is really an honor to be here, so thank you for having us and the entire Cataract team. So this screen up here, you'll see our 3-year discipline referral trend. These mirror the student subgroups on the New York State Accountability Report. So as you can see, over the past 3 years, we've seen some steady decrease in disciplinary referrals. Notably, 85% decrease amongst our Hispanic subgroup, 34% amongst multiracial students, and there's more information in your folders that Ms. Manella provided, so it'll break it down a little further for you. The next screen is something that we're very proud of. We've seen some substantial drops in our suspension trends. So this, once again, is a 3-year comparative graph from the 2023-2024 school year to now. We've seen a 72% decrease amongst our non-minority subgroup of students and a 59% decrease amongst our minority students. And that's the way the district reports suspensions on our dashboard, so that's how we classify them as minority and non-minority. This screen right here, we did a breakdown of students at Cataract. There are 510 students currently attending Cataract Elementary. Of those 510 students, 435 of them, which is 86%, have not received a disciplinary referral at all this year. So then we look down a little bit further. We have 38 students receiving 1 disciplinary referral and 37% of students receiving 2 or more. So that's what we could look at, that 14% of students to provide some targeted interventions to them, in addition to the supports that we already are providing. And this last sheet that this last chart that you see is our monthly incident tracker. These are classified based on New York State reporting guidelines. So our incidents are classified as, VADER, non-VADER, referral, non-suspension, but we wanted you to see the numbers and the fact that we're trending in a really positive direction as far as discipline and behavior is concerned.
So your name is Matthew?
Yes.
So Matthew, the 90, if I'm adding 86 and 7, it's 93. 93, you want one or fewer discipline referral for 93% of the kids.
93% of our student population has received 1 or fewer disciplinary referrals.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laurie. One of the things that we didn't mention that in my mind I wanted to say to you, I don't know if everyone in the room or listening understands the makeup of cataract, but we are 27% special education, not including related sources only. I'm talking CT and special class, and of that 27%, 17% is special classes. They are all in this achievement data. We don't disaggregate anything, so they're in these numbers that you see. So with our social emotional wellness, our SEL team, which has worked very hard to author a curriculum that spirals over 2 years to address some of the needs. We pair with North Point at a partnership that was gained by Ms. Bianco, and through those efforts and many other things in that department, and very graciously the board allowed us to do a winter benchmark on the BAS, so you can see by the numbers there, 38% of the students that were retested that were in those areas of need improved their tier by at least 1 tier, some more.
That's great.
So yes, it's fantastic. So the final slide, just to be reminded of the New York State status report and the tabs, if you will, that place on schools and subgroups. That's the hierarchy there. Mr. Green, you go ahead and hit it. It shouldn't overlap. It'll show us ours. So this is where we are. Despite our all students being stable with an LSI, we did default to an ATSI status as a school because of the subgroups that gained that tab. Now, what does that mean? That is trending from last year. So obviously we don't really know next year based on the achievement that we've been talking to you about. Those subgroups are trending significantly in the right direction. Unfortunately, designations change. Sometimes it takes 2 years for that to change.
Right.
But we're definitely, you can see where we've improved. Mr. Laurie already noted the Hispanic population there has improved from PTSI 1 to LSI, and we have several stable groups as well.
So I leave this here. Could you go back to this is based on, I just want to make a point, and then we'll wrap this up. This is based on one test, 2 days in May, reading or math, from the state. That's how they build this pyramid. 2 days, one test, build the pyramid, label your school. Can you go back to the first slide where the triangle was buried or the diamond was buried? This is progress that happens every single day. And this recognizes where a student currently is and where a student is improving on a daily basis. I don't understand how they can make judgments about the hardworking people in the audience and our kids based on one test, 2 days in May, as opposed to this type of growth that kids are making. I just wanted to juxtapose that and ask you to think about if that makes sense. Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make any sense to me. But yet, that's how schools are rated or ranked, and it's just not fair to our kids. The reason they were here, you're here, and you'll continue to see our schools is because of charts like this, where we are in the blue, showing growth each and every week, each and every month, each and every trimester when the test is given. I want to thank Cataract for their great results. I would like to challenge you to say that we can't rest on this and that it's not done until it's completely done, and I know you know that. But thank you very much for your hard work. It's paying off, and we notice it and we recognize it. And I wanted to just appreciate the hard work you've all done. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We want to say to the board and all those listening and the side tables who support us every day, the phone calls, the tutelage, the mentorship, myself alone, there are so many of my mentors in this room, and we thank you for trusting us to do what's right for kids and not questioning us when we come to you with real stuff and programs. We appreciate you.
Thanks. Great job. What's that? All right. Back to work. No leaving early, 32 minutes. We're watching. We're watching. No stopping at Dunkin' Donuts on the way there.
Here we go.
No stop, just get there. Get to work. Thank you. We have speaking of helping students make improvements, speaking of helping students with high leverage tutoring, speaking of someone who helps individual students one at a time, which is the way you have to do things, and seeing their respective growth. I'm pleased that we have been able to help Ms. Deborah Hicks through the city community development organization, who has provided us with a couple, 2 or 3 now, community development block grants that I've indicated that those are pass-throughs that come through the district and then they go to her tutoring program. And I just wanted to ask Ms. Hicks, and I think one of her maybe stars that I'll let her introduce, talk just briefly about her program.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Hicks, 3820 DeVoe Street, Niagara Falls, New York. First, I'd like to say thank you to all of you for all of your help to help me to help the children that I'm tutoring. And I was looking at the chart. I want to congratulate Cataract on their great job of what they're doing with the children. But those children that were in the red, that were 2 levels behind, send them to me.
It's all got to work together.
Okay, joke. Okay. I remember coming before the board to ask that you help me to help you. And I can say that that definitely helped to ensure that there will be some students that will be graduating from this school district who will be able to read. Teaching literacy has always been my passion and now my purpose. Every year when I taught in the classroom, I always instilled in my students that all children can learn. Some learn faster, some learn slower, and some need individual assistance. Initially, I will have two young men standing beside me. The other couldn't make it today because his father had a prior appointment. But the two young men standing on each side of me are examples of individualized education or tutoring that can bring about positive effects. They have an IEP that was mostly for speech. They had to repeat themselves a lot to me for me to understand. And I think at this time I'm now becoming a speech teacher. They started with me at the same time 3 years ago. They are the only two students who I saw 3 times a week for the first school year that they attended. The second year, we dropped it down to 2 times a week, and now it's just 1. We will see what happens next year. The time that they have spent with me has made a great difference in their learning process. When I was teaching in the classroom, I realized that my at-risk students needed small reading groups 3 times a week. To prove this theory, I taught my at-risk students instead of allowing the reading coaches to teach. These students were my responsibility. I was able to take a group of second grade students who were reading at a kindergarten level and have them ready for 3rd grade by the end of the year. And my prior principal, Carrie Buckman, can attest to that. And then I retired. This theory was applied with Emilio and the other young man, Joel. When they came to me, I taught them. I had them 3 days a week, and they were the only 2 that I had 3 days a week. And the time with me has exceeded my expectations. Before I go any further, I'm going to let Mr. Emilio Nick speak.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is my paragraph about her, Miss Hicks. Have you ever needed help reading? Well, Miss Hicks is your person. I will give you 3 reasons why. My first reason is Miss Hicks is the best at tutoring. Miss Hicks is determined to help you get better. When Miss Hicks lost her first office, she allowed us to come in her house in her safe place. I let go in there because we could play ball in the backyard. She also never messes around with us and doesn't get mad. She is always calm. My second reason is when I first started, I couldn't read or write. Now I can read and write very well. When I increased my reading points to 65, I earned $65. I was very excited. My teacher said she never had saw that before. I called Miss Hicks when I got on the bus and told her. She also gives us $5 when we level up on Raz Kids. My third reason is she also buys a lot of stuff like posters and snacks. She told me I must leave after I'm reading on my grade level, but I told her no, I didn't want to leave because I still needed help to get better. So she allowed me to stay. If it wasn't for Miss Hicks, I wouldn't be able to read or write. Thank you for listening to me.
Congratulations. You didn't, could you do me a favor? Your name again is?
Emilio Nix.
And your grade?
7th.
7th?
Hmm?
You spoke like a high school student. Like a high school student. I mean, it was quite, I'm quite taken back by your speaking as well as your reading. You did it with poise, calmness, and clarity. Congratulations, young man.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're not shy, are you? I can tell. I like that about you. You know what? You know what I think, though? I think, and maybe you will agree or disagree, but as your reading improves, your confidence improves, too. You would agree with me? Thank God. Because I could see it in you. You have, it's important that you know how to read, now you know you can, but it's also important that you do it confidently. And I'm happy about your reading, but I'm just as happy about your confidence, poise, and presentation, because that's going to take you pretty far. So great job, great job. What school are you at?
Gaston.
Yeah? You know the principal there?
Mrs. Zimmerman.
Is he treating you okay?
Yeah.
Oh, he's here. I just just wanted to make sure this would have been your time. This would have been your time for me to, Okay, let's move on.
Thank you, Emilio.
Thank you, Emilio.
I had told Emilio and the other young man, Joel, that I was going to write a story about them, and Emilio said, good, I want to be famous. So this is his time to be famous. When they were practicing yesterday, they were practicing their speech, and after they practiced, I got very emotional, like I'm getting right now, because it's a joy to see kids' progress. And when you see that light turn on, and that has been my purpose, most of my life. So it's been an emotional trial for me, well, an emotional time. Emilio, he has been on honor roll. He just made high honors. From a kid who was reading at a kindergarten level, he's now high honors. I call him my poster boy. He spoke about the charts that I bought. I purchased the foundations posters that we used in the schools.
Right.
That is the foundation of the science of reading. I used that. I also purchased 3 sets of Bright guided reading books that correlates with the foundation charts. So that helped very much when I was teaching my boys and all the rest of the kids that come to me. I now have 29 students that I teach. I have some parents back here who have come to support me and to also thank you for helping out. A lot of times we think that parents really don't care, but sometimes parents don't know what they don't know, and they don't have the resources. So right now, I am in a resource outside of the school district, well, with the school district, but on the outside. And I just want to thank you for all that you've done, you, community development, Stan, Paul. It's been great. And I think that's my...
Yeah. I just want to say just a couple things. Thank you. Thank you for staying congruent with the science of reading and using what our teachers are using. See, that's called partnership. Second thing is thanks for doing and not just talking. Doing action and helping kids is what we need more of. I want to thank you for that. Richard, raise your hand. That's Richard. Richard is Miss Hicks's bodyguard, because Richard's the one who helps write all the grants to keep this program going, and I know he's been a big source of help.
Right. Can you say your last name for me, please?
Schwartfager. I just learned it last week myself, Miss Hicks. It's okay. But he does deserve credit. Miss Hicks has the idea, the plan, turns it in. Richard makes sure that the money comes in. So thank you very much. Thanks for your...
Stan. I meant to say Richard.
Richard, yeah, that's him. That's Richard. Yeah, I knew who you meant. But I also want to thank the community development office of the city. This is all sponsored through a community development grant. You got board. You take it as a short-term contract, and then it gets turned back this way. Just trying to put context to how the whole mechanism works. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Emilio. It's going to be hard to top you. It's going to be hard to top you. I love your confidence. Keep that confidence, that humble confidence going. You're going to go very far, and we're going to read about you. And could you introduce who you're with? Your grandma and grandpa? Thank you, grandma and grandpa. for your support. We appreciate you, and we appreciate your support. Obviously, Ms. Hicks and Amelia are doing good work, but it doesn't happen without Grandma and Grandpa.
Right.
So we appreciate you, Grandma and Grandpa. Thanks for trusting us with them. He's got an in now with Zimmerman, so he should be fine, okay? Thank
I'd
you.
like to say you're welcome to stop by 2601 Highland Avenue anytime between 3:30 and 7:30 to just come and visit.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Next, we're going to move into a plan. Now, this plan is important because in 2 weeks, we're going to ask you in item 6.09 to support this plan. This is our district plan for students with disabilities. We got a little bit behind during COVID times in updating this plan, but now with the work of Ms. Villardo, Ms. Batir, we have put together a plan that is only a guidebook and only a roadmap. Any plan is fluid, any plan can change, but we want to make sure that you are aware that we do have a district plan for students with disabilities. This plan will be, as it says, in place for the next 3 years. However, it will be reviewed yearly and updated and changed. So, this is Cheryl and Cheryl, and thank you for.
Is it a new show?
Cheryl and Cheryl. It's on public access at 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday evenings, like the late night movies they used to put on, the scary movies. Yes, so we do now have it on public access. Take it away.
We like to be called the Cheryls.
Yeah.
I'm Cheryl 2.
I'm Cheryl 1.0.
No, not in my book. Go ahead. In my book, Cheryl 1, Cheryl 2. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you for having us tonight. Similar to Mr. Graneri presenting last week, we have a 30-page plan, and we are going to highlight the important parts, or what we perceive as the important parts for you tonight. So really our purpose is to review, again, the highlights of the district plan. You all have full copies of it, especially highlighting data trends and program capacity, sharing district goals aligned to the state performance plan indicators that are given to us, and outline budget and accountability measures. And I think this is especially important. Our special education population is over 20% of our students, so this is an increasingly important part of what we do in our district. Just kind of to open the plan, you know, we are aligned with our district mission and strategic goals and everything we do in the special education department, including our plan. Education law, the regulations part 200 are our Bible. It is a highly regulated area of education, so we are constantly checking the regulations to make sure we are aligned and compliant. And the NYSED blueprint priorities for students with disabilities, which you can see there. And I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl 1.
Thanks. Oh, thanks,
Jim, are you okay? What you're applauding? Oh, because you work with Cheryl. You're the lawyer that gets Cheryl out of trouble. Yeah,
He actually thanked me for not calling him this year. So there are 13 disability classifications or categories under New York state law that allow us to provide special education services to our students. I won't read them all off to you, but I will, as you probably know, there's a large uptick in students who are classified with autism. But we can go on, Ray. So we offer a wide variety of services in all of our school buildings. Starting with really related services, which students remain in the general education setting and can be provided speech or occupational therapy or physical therapy and counseling. We also have many consultant teacher programs throughout the district, resource room, integrated co-teaching is just in Bleneva Bond and Abbott. We have many special classes that you can see up there, 15 to 1, 12-1-1, 8-1-3. We've actually, thanks to you all, just created a 6-1-3 behavioral class. because we do find that many of our students coming to us from preschool into kindergarten are needing something smaller to be successful. It's very exciting. We just reached out to many of our school psychologists, and we have more than half of our students that were in a 12-1-1 behavioral class at Bond moving to a 15-1 classroom program. So the idea is to start off small and then hopefully find, less restrictive environments. We also have declassification supports for when students have met all of their goals and they are no longer in need of special education services. We do have out-of-district placements, home instruction, and then our preschool committee that does work with Niagara County, and many of those students are in our, universal pre-K programs. This is a snapshot of the district. Certainly.
Under the consultant teachers, they're never to assign more than 20 students. Isn't it high?
I don't think so. So basically the way we have set up our consultant teacher program is a co-teaching model. So a consultant teacher could have, let's say, students in 3rd grade and students in 4th. So they have 10 students in a 3rd grade class that they support with reading and math, and then they have 10 other students in, let's say, a 4th grade class that they support for the other half of the day. So it seems to work really well. I don't think it's too many students.
I think what we did, and I remember the meeting, it was right here in this room, Cheryl.
It was PTSD.
It was a tough meeting, but what we did is that, that's the state recommended number.
Yeah.
That's we do have a few cases when there are fewer, but that's just because of the numbers. What we did, and I'll never forget Cheryl leading this and insisting on this, is that we helped the teachers by allowing them to only go in, I think every case, two classes.
Yes.
In elementary school. They're not jumping all over the building. They're going in class A and class B. So while they could have 9 students with this teacher, they're with that teacher. And that co-teaching or consultant teacher model really becomes much more efficient. Prior to this, they might have had 4 over here, 3 over here, 7 over here. Traveling between schools. You invested in a great number of special education teachers to make it so a CT teacher, only has 2. Am I totally correct?
Exactly right.
Only 2 teachers. And when you only have to work in 2 teachers' classrooms, it's a lot more efficient and a lot easier to handle. So I think that move, and it was 8 years ago, right here in this room that we did it. I think it was the right thing to do, and I think it helps minimize the concerns of your questions.
Yes, I will say this for our kindergarten, like consultant teacher students, we do a little bit of a lesser number. We do between 6 and 8 students, but that's just really to provide as much support as we can to those little ones. But as we move up, it is 10. But it seems to work pretty well.
I was only concerned, I guess, about how much disruption might be when there are teachers in trying to help a student read or something, a problem, and that just seems a lot. That's why I question.
Well, the nice thing about especially elementary is that typically students are working in small groups in a rotation. So to have 2 teachers during a reading time is great. And they don't necessarily have to have all of their own special education students. They're also able to support a lower reader within their group if they need to. So I think it really offers a great amount of support. Not only to our students, but then there's also 2 teachers who are able to plan together, work together, talk about how can we make this work better, what can we do better for the student.
the common planning time
Yeah.
and the co-planning really makes it not invasive or unusual or unknowing. Each person, the general ed teacher, the special ed teacher, the teaching assistant, all know their role within the child and what they're responsible for. So I think when we, most recently 4 years ago, changed the contract to have common planning periods, that really helped as well too. So there's some things we've tried to build along the way to lessen the stress of the number of kids and the number of needs to provide additional communication.
Okay, so this is a snapshot of our district. I cannot take credit for this. Ashley Chambers in our office created this. It's been a great document. We've shared it with the SEPTA group so they can have an understanding of what's in our district. I'm certainly not going to read everything through to you, but you know, just with Angela talking about cataract, you can kind of take a little snapshot of, you know, what she does have in her school and the fact that they are making tremendous progress there. As you are aware, we have a number of 813 autism classrooms, and those are really for students with very significant needs. Many of our children in those classrooms are nonverbal students. We have great speech therapists who work with our students in those classrooms. They've been able to get them communication devices so that they are able to communicate, and it is typically with a connection with the parents and a group called AbleNet. So it's strictly with the parent and this AbleNet provider, so it's not something that it costs the district, and the parents are able to get a communication device for their children that is insured, which has been, you know, really an amazing thing. And again, it's our speech therapists are the ones who are really making this happen for us. I'm sure Ann could talk to you more about it. I don't know if anyone has questions about any of the programs that we have in the district.
Now, on that page, you also went up to 25 students.
Pardon?
On that page, you went up to 25 students.
On the previous page?
Yeah. A resource room teacher may be assigned no more than 25 students.
Correct.
That might be is it on there?
I don't think so, but
It's 5 actually.
yeah.
5 is for the resource
At
room.
a time, up to 25 over the course of the day. Or their year.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's a different regulation.
Only 5 at a time.
Yeah.
At a time, they could have a caseload up to 25, but they would see them like in 5 small groups throughout the day, and that's the state regulation.
Okay, next slide. This is a breakdown of the number of students with disability in our district and the breakdown of classification. So learning disability, which it could be a learning disability in reading, writing, or math, is 545 students. We typically do not find students learning disabled until they have gone through the RTI process or the tiered interventions for a period of time, and have tried a wide variety of different interventions to determine that they're not making the progress we want to see. Speech and language is up there. A lot of our little ones are classified, especially in kindergarten, first grade, with speech or language impairment. Many times we find that these students will be declassified, once they meet their goals. Other health impairment would be students who have a diagnosis of some type. Typically, ADHD is a big diagnosis for kiddos with other health impairment. Autism is at 193, emotional disability 90, intellectual, you can kind of see the rest how they go down. And that's from October 2025. Any questions on that? This is a breakdown of where students land within the general education setting. So 925 of our students are in a general education classroom 80% or more of the time. So typically, these would be our consultant teacher kids because they're not pulled out at all, or a related service student who might be pulled out for speech twice a week. 145 students who are in gen ed 40 to 79% of the time. They may be pulled out more for related services. 391 are special class students, so students who would be in those 15 to 1s, the 811s, any special classroom. And then 178 of our students are in out-of-district programs, which would be like Falk School, Orleans Niagara BOCES. I see you saying, wow, I know. Summit Center, there's a whole variety of, yes.
I don't want to be a pain, but when I was looking at the staggering numbers, the kids from 6 to 11, that's such a big number compared to anything else.
Which one? Six.
Which number?
Well, the total ages on page 8 of the disability of a snapshot date, and autism was 113, and learning disabilities were 171. And I mean, it seems like from 6 to 11, there's a lot of problems.
So I will tell you this, our students transition from the preschool committee to the school age committee. And you're 100% right, there are a lot. We're in the process right now of having our transition meetings where we determine where students that are 4 will go for kindergarten. And right now, we have like over 40 students who have autism that will probably need a special class. Anyone who will listen, I say somebody could do a research paper, a master's, paper on, I'm not sure what is going on. I don't know if there's any other school districts, in the region that have the numbers that we have of students with autism. Some people will say, oh, they're being diagnosed more, but these students, you could just go in the classroom and know, like I said, they're nonverbal, they have significant speech and language needs, they sometimes have significant behavioral needs, and I don't know what is going on, but you're 100% right. It's a staggering number.
Through most of the report that you're reporting and writing, there's a ton of 6 to 11.
Yes.
Yes.
Does
it balance out later? Do you have any idea?
I don't think this is going to. The reason it is 6 to 11 right now is this trend, I guess I could call it, started maybe 5 years ago. And we came to Mr. Laurie, and I know he came to you, and we said, oh my gosh, we have more kids than we can put in an out-of-district program, right? Like, so Summit Center would take a lot of our kids with autism, and so would BOCES. But we had so many, we said, I don't think they're gonna get picked up. Like, we're gonna have to do something. And so that's where it started. And these kiddos, many of them, I'm not gonna say all, I'm not going to say most, but many of them are probably going to need this type of program as they move to prep school and high school. So our oldest child in our 813, I believe, is 11 years old at Abbott.
Which is a good point and something that the district will have to do going forward. Yeah. The program for ages 6 to 11 has been refined, improved, worked on, refined, improved. Now, and a lot of staff development, we need to start transitioning that staff development to teachers, kids over age 11, because this wave that is not going to stop, it's not going to, the teachers of kids over 11 have not seen this type of student. So a top thing I would think for the plan and for the district is to really look ahead now to know that we need a lot of professional development for teachers of children with autism 11 to 22, because it's not going to stop. And we just need to be prepared ahead of the game. That's all. Yes. Yes. Yep.
I already filled 2 classrooms. Yeah.
Pre-K to K.
Yes, sir.
If we ever look to see if these students are moving in,
Yeah.
Transferring into the district.
right,
Anecdotally, we can tell you, they've come from Alaska, we had one from Columbus, Ohio today, where else?
Oregon.
Oregon, Maine, or no, New Hampshire,
Yeah.
New Hampshire, yeah.
But that's like a handful.
Yeah.
Most are coming, so like out of the preschool committee with Kathy Contento, we probably have at least 40.
Track any kids like that program
These students that are coming that we're gonna make 813s for are all in out-of-district programs, or they've been kicked out of preschool and they're at home.
Yeah. So can you imagine that? We're not going to do that to kids. So we're creating classes in our schools. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right, but I'm going to morph into we do. And so it's a wise conversation. Here's the problem. Julie and Marquise are going to come up here in a minute. The support those children need and deserve does not equal the funding we receive.
Right.
We're talking about a groundswell of students, 6 to 11, who are going to be 11 to 22, and still coming 3 to 5, or 3, and then 6 to 11, and the amount of support financially the district receives is nowhere near adequate to provide. You take BOCES, for instance, and Julie, you correct me if I'm wrong. You know, sending a kid to BOCES right now, you get no aid. Well, they don't have any spots, right? There's no spots.
They have some spots.
Yeah, they do, but
They're limited.
They're limited, but it's
they charge just less, what do I wanna say? They don't charge enough so that we can get reimbursed.
right. That was going to be my point.
Yeah.
Right now, if the student has to cost at least one student $50,000 before we get any aid, BOCES aid. Next year, that threshold goes to $60,000. So you see what they're doing? They're raising the threshold for reimbursement, so we don't get reimbursed. So you know, again, this is my thinking and has been my thinking, and I know some don't agree with it, but what I try to do and can be looked at. First of all, these are exceptional children. Secondly, I have a philosophical belief that they belong in schools in their neighborhoods. That's number two. I strongly believe that they should go to school with their classmates.
Yes.
I just can't emphasize have been my 42-year philosophical belief. And thirdly, we can do a better job at a lesser cost by keeping them in the district. You can't there's a whole BOCES while they're reimbursed. No, there's no reimbursement. $60,000 before we get a nickel back.
Yeah.
And that is, it's going to be part of our next presentation, but it's going to bankrupt school districts.
Yeah.
Now, we're telling you that we're getting, one of the Cheryl said 40 more. I think on our budget here, we have at least 4 more classes that we need to add.
Yes.
But that's 4 or 5 every year for the last 4 or 5 years. And the financial weighting is not even close. So.
And now students can stay until they're 22,
Right.
so that's like
Right.
capping it out. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not a nickel more funding for that either.
No.
And not even that, but a morally bankrupt, corrupt approach by the state to penalize us for keeping those children and saying they count against our graduation rate. That is so ethically and morally wrong to not honor those children by counting them as a non-completer. I'm sorry. That is, you talk about things that are wrong.
Right.
That's wrong. Those students have value. They stay till they're 22 and they're counted as a non-completer. I don't know how you get away with that. I don't know how you get away with that. Sorry, I'm getting on the soapbox again.
No, and I agree with you. I do want to say one last thing is that, we have these meetings with parents, and they're called transition meetings, and they come in and we meet. I mean, it's so exciting for them. So many of them are like my child can go to school with his brother, like, my child can go to, he can go to like that school, and I'm like, yeah, like, you know, that's what the purpose was. And it gives them like almost a feeling of normalcy, like my little guy's gonna go on the bus with his brother, even though he's got like, you know, this significant autism. And it's a great feeling to be a part of that, and it's great when parents, you know, are excited that their child can be a part of, you know, what every other child in the district gets to be a part of. So it's great that, you know, we can do it, but yeah, I you know, me and money, I love to spend it, but I do worry.
To your next slide.
Yeah. Go ahead.
My last slide really is just about placements and what's available, and I'm all, you wanted to do?
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about money.
Right, well, there's the dollar amount. I don't, it's, you know, it's instructional staff, and it's aides.
Yep.
You know, childcare associates is a huge one, because for every 1-3, you have 3 there. Our related services grow with our increased autism classrooms. So as you bring those kiddos into district, we need more speech, we need more OT, PT, and school psychologists to manage that. BOCES placements, Mark just talked about, private placements, charter costs, and then supplies and contracts.
I want to give a shout out to Falk. It's Falk, right?
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Stanley Falk. Our kids have had tremendous success at Stanley Falk. We analyzed the success rates out of district, and I've noticed a great trend of success with Falk students. Am I correct?
Yes.
And I just wanted to give them their due respect. Thank you to the staff at work at Stanley Falk. Russ?
How many students is that 40 million?
I believe it was about 1,700.
Yeah.
That does not include preschool.
And there's no admin cost in there, right? You haven't allocated any principals, vice principals. That's strictly
No,
just
it's just
your
strictly the
budget.
money we would get for,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
teachers, aides.
It illustrates a point that a local columnist tried to make. That's why you can't take a budget, divide it by the number of students, and get a cost per pupil.
No.
You've got to bucket them out if you know what you're doing in school finance, right? You got to bucket them out. So it's a high number.
I even questioned if transportation was in there.
Yeah,
It's
that's talk about a large add to that. Put transportation in there, and we're going to get close to 45 million.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Are there more?
Yeah,
Just a couple more things.
I got one more question. I guess then I'll shut up, but in the speech or language impairment, there again, we have 106 from 4 to 5, 345 students from 6 to 11, and then it drops down to 19, 4, and 0.
Right.
Yes, because, you know what?
They don't get services?
Pardon? We actually reduced it after 6th grade. So when students are entering, you know, 7th grade, 8th grade, they need to be in their core classrooms so they can get that instruction. Typically, kids tend to plateau, and we don't see the growth that we were seeing. So we're investing, you know, our money into the younger kids. Kids make more progress between the ages of like 4 and 7 than at any other time. So we're really providing some, I'm losing my words, great service to those students. But as they move, like I said, to the prep schools, it's, even with our students who have, you know, significant disabilities, we're not seeing the improvement or the progress that you might see. The other thing is the goals that are on these students' IEP for speech, typically as we move from 3rd grade to 6th grade, are goals that could be handled by a special education teacher. So
Right.
a lot of the goals are answering WH questions from a story, like who, what, where, when, why. That could all be addressed with that. And that's a lot of times what those goals are. So it's not to say we're not working on them, but we don't necessarily need a speech therapist as kids transition to the higher grades.
I can't swallow 90% of our students are released by the speech teacher in 1 year, 2 years. 90%.
I'm
It's
not following, I'm sorry.
Well,
Are released?
you have 345 kids,
Oh,
and then it goes down to 19.
yes.
So you got 90% of the kids miraculously learning how to speak, I
No.
guess,
It's not all in 1 year, though.
It's not speaking either, like.
or
it's-
using language.
It is language, but it's really about being able to comprehend, understand questions. Did Anne move? It's not so much speech production or
Right.
articulation as much as it is understanding content, being able to give a relevant response to a question, those types of things. So no, have they miraculously gained those skills? Not necessarily, but it's still skills that can be worked on by a special education teacher, and it doesn't need to be a speech therapist. The idea too is we have so many of these little ones that are needing very significant speech service that we have to figure out where are we going to get our best outcomes and the most progress. Kind of like bang for your buck. So yes, it is reduced, but we believe that the goals that were on the speech therapist caseload or on the IEP are goals that could be worked on from the special education teacher.
And some of those kids, like the 6 to 11 is advanced, so some of them maybe lose their speech declassified at age 6, some might be age 7. It's not like age 11 and then it falls
Right.
off. And I just like, as a mom, to speak from personal experience with speech therapy, like younger kids, the early intervention makes a big difference. Like you have to capture them at those younger ages, and it's really, really effective. One of my daughters had it at age 4, and I could not believe like that speech and language pathologist was like a miracle worker to teach her how to enunciate the way she needed to. And now she doesn't stop talking.
Just like her father.
Just like her father.
Her father, not her mother.
That's right. So moving on, I just want to say that special ed is a, if you could go back just for 1 second, all right, thanks. It's a very highly regulated area. We submit data to the state portal all of the time. These are all different reports that we have to submit, and we are constantly monitored around these areas. Specifically, so while we submit data in all of those areas, every year there is an area that we are especially a focus of the state, and this is all school districts. So for this year, it's indicator 12, which is early childhood transition. We are working with the state representative. We have to submit our data 4 times a year. She reviews it to help us make sure we're on track for the compliance of when a student gets referred at age 3 or age 4. You know, there's a lot of compliance we have to follow in terms of making sure the meetings are held, figuring out, you know, what classification, if any, they're going to get. Next year is indicator 13 and 14. I've been around long enough now that this is my second time going through indicator 13 and 14, and that is our secondary transition and post-secondary outcomes. So we do a really good job, especially at the high school, of transitioning students and having a lot of work-based learning opportunities. All of that information, though, needs to be reflected in a student's IEP from age 14 on, and we need to conduct transition assessments with parents and students so that we really help to focus them when they leave high school. And then indicator 14, I believe it's Potsdam or Plattsburgh University, actually calls all of our students a year after they graduate high school. It'll happen in 2027 for us, to see if what was on the IEP happened. And we get feedback and kind of measured by the state and how well we do with making sure that we helped our students with their plan and then connecting them with what they need to do to follow their plan after high school. Because of, we've got some extra support from the state this year, and this will transition me to my next slide. They came in a year early, so while our IEPs will be audited next fall, we have had significant coaching from the regional partnership this year with all of our special ed teachers working with students ages 14 and up to make sure that they are all getting age-appropriate career and transition assessments, to make sure that all of their goals are aligned to the assessment data, so whatever they say want to do and however they're performing presently is reflected on that IEP. So again, I think we have a lot in place. It's just making sure it's reflected on the IEP. Along with that is we are working better with Access VR and OPWDD, which are resources in the community that help our students once they do graduate or reach the age of 22 to make sure they transition successfully to whatever it is their goals are after high school. So that's one of our big program goals this year that we're working on is the transition. Secondly, the functional behavior assessments and behavior intervention plans, and this goes to the least restrictive environment. We want to keep kids in the least restrictive environment, and if there are behavioral issues, conducting the FBAs and putting in VIPs into place to make sure that they can stay in that general ed if possible, and if not, then we move them into a more restrictive special class environment. So our goal there, and they make up a lot of numbers that I don't totally understand. I think Mr. Laurie can attest to that, our goal attainment scale. But it is to, in general, increase our district capacity to systematically and with fidelity implement FBAs and VIPs for students. And then the third goal that we've worked with the regional partnership on this year is explicit instruction. This is primarily taking place, it kind of started at Gaskell last year, and this year at Harry F. Abbott in grades 5 and 6. But our plan is to make sure that those good practices are being spread to all of the other elementary school teachers especially. And so you can see the goals. And then kind of our more locally developed goals is a special class curriculum, and this came out when Mr. Crella was here, that really the teachers had didn't have a curriculum that was maybe appropriate for students at their level. So we are piloting 2 curriculum, Teach Town and Unique this year, and coming up in our March Professional Development Day, the teachers from both pilot groups are going to get together to discuss what they like about each one, and we'll make a decision moving forward. But that's been an exciting kind of goal this year, to make sure that we've got a good curriculum in place for those students. And then paraprofessional training. As we add all of these classes, we have to add a lot of associates, and to make sure that they are equipped and they understand the student's disability and how best to work with them. And I just want to add with our professional development too, is that with your support, we have 2 special education coaches, Phil Moore and Christina Magnuson, who are all over this district and just doing an amazing job of helping teachers and the associates, make sure that they can meet the students' needs, because it is a changing population of students that we're working with.
Now, kudos to our exceptionally exceptional coaches, Phil and Christina. It's been a great addition, and they're helping. We do have a lot of young teachers too.
We do.
So
We do.
and they're in 813 classes, and
Yes.
it's not like that in college.
No, that's right. That's right.
This is live. This is live.
Yeah, so, our plan, we believe, reflects all of these things that are up here. First and foremost, compliance, but we do always, if a student needs something, they need it. We don't really have a lot of choices sometimes. If it's on the IEP, we have to fund it, but we're gonna look to be the most fiscally responsible we can, and Julie and us work together a lot to make sure that we are getting any reimbursements we can, to make sure we're fully maximizing state aid. And just continuing yearly to look at our data and to make sure that we're always programming with students in mind, and really trying to keep, the same high expectations for all of our students. And I just want to add, on our graduation rate, this past year, for students with disabilities was 76%, and that's up from like the mid-2018 was 36%. So we are trending in the right direction, and I think it's because of our commitment to inclusion and making sure that there's excellence for all of our students.
Yeah, that's a really good number, Ms. Flyer. Would you repeat that last number?
Yes. So in 2018, our students with disability graduation rate was 36%, and in last year it was 76%. So still not equal to our general education students, but significantly closing the gaps.
Right.
And I would add that 12% of kids this past year, were continuing. So it's not as if they dropped out, they just are those kids between the ages of 18 and 22 who are remaining in school, and so they count against our graduation rate.
Right.
So 76% takes that number into account.
Right, because we have special education, and there's a philosophy that everybody learns at their own pace, and every one of us learns at our own pace, but not in the eyes of that report. If you don't do it in 4 years, bad district.
Right.
Bad district.
Right.
Bad district. So,
12% of the kids from that cohort
12%
wanted to stay with us longer.
So right, add that 12%, that goes to 88%.
Yep.
Just saying, you can twist numbers any way you want to make any statement you want about anything you want and feel that you're accurate. So We'll just give you the facts. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you all for your support. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Tony, you like that commitment to excellence? That's the Raider way. That was the Al Davis statement. Cheryl, do you know who Al Davis is?
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who?
he's a singer.
That's Al Green. That's Al Jarreau. Al Davis is the former owner of the Oakland Raiders, and his slogan was commitment to excellence.
I watch the players, not the.
The owner, what was that called? The owner? He was the owner. She thought he was, you know what? He did sing once at a karaoke bar. You might have been at that, yeah. Well, I'm not saying you go there, but no, you're not getting Schedule B for this either. I said, okay, I said, do you know who Al Davis is? Because you got commitment to excellence. And you go, yeah, sure, I know him. He's a singer. It's Al Jarreau, Al Green. No, I'm never mean to you, am I? Thanks, Sherry. Bye.
Well, thanks for all your hard work.
Yes, I like that commitment to excellence. Jackie, Molly, want to come up?
I know it's about money and I'm.
So before our presenters come up, I wanted to set, Julie, I want to do something
Maybe we should dim the lights and get some music.
for this.
Maybe kind of like sci-fi music.
Kind of like sci-fi. Yeah. You think that will go away? I don't think that I'm going to let that one go. So before we do any of these, we have 4 slides to present to you on finances. But before we do this, prior to the March 26th meeting, there will be an audit committee. We will also next week add 1 resolution to your agenda item that we got clarification on this week. We had the internal auditors audit us as we're required to do. They had 2 not findings, no dollars, no findings, 2 recommendations, and one I think is a great recommendation, and the other is something that's very easy to do. Let me try, and then you can jump in, Julie. One, we always give you we've talked about this before, we always give you the general fund budget status report and updates. The suggestion was to make sure the board gets the cafeteria fund and the special aid fund, because we haven't included that. We're going to start doing that, though.
Yes, and capital also.
And capital, so you have those reports. The second recommendation, which is a long time due, is that we still use paper timesheets. And it's time. It's time to get rid of paper timesheets. So those were the 2 recommendations. We'll present to the audit committee at 4. We'll come back to you. I fully support their right. We have to eliminate that. Julie will write a cap. So you'll see a resolution added to your board packet. It will have those 2 things on it. And Julie, number 1, Julie will start making sure that her and Marquesia distribute the cafeteria, capital, and special aid budgets to you. And number 2, we are going to begin the investigation of a technology-based timesheet process, and you have one in mind.
Yes, so Envision does have a module. It's called Timepiece, so that's sort of the first one we'll start to look at. But we will investigate further. And, the paper timesheets are really for hourly employees and for anything extra. So the majority is still through an automated system. It's just sort of they're recommending just we kind of look at everything to kind of bring everything into an automated system. But there were no findings, so it's just a recommendation.
And that will be an addition that is not in your packet, so that'll be 611 or 612. And you'll have that well in advance of the meeting to vote on. Before you distribute anything, I'd like to just talk about a couple of things with the budget. We're in session 4 of 6 or 7. I thought 2 things that happened this week were interesting financially. One, I see that Buffalo has been working for a couple of months now to close a couple of schools, which is a very, very difficult thing to do. And they've gone, I think, back to the drawing board. And then this week, I watched the Kenmore board meeting. I watched Superintendent Samato in the Kenmore board meeting. And they are looking to they're looking to reopen 2, close 1, And the reason that's driving that is the outlook that they're seeing 2 or 3 years down the road for the school finances. Now, I'm not suggesting we're in that position, but those two districts have realized that the school financing cliff is starting to really fall. They know that if they don't do something drastic, now we did some of those drastic things. What do I mean? Reconstitute your health benefits plan, which we did a couple of 10, 12 years ago. Close some schools, which is never pleasant and easy. Those are big things. My point is, I certainly sympathize and empathize with Kenmore and Buffalo this week. My point is, it is not just germane to those districts. It is across the state, and it's what we've been talking about to open each budget meeting in Niagara Falls. It is coming, and it's coming fast, and it's coming hard. The House and the Senate released their one-house budgets. I read them again today. They're asking for a percentage more in foundation aid, but the governor then tied it back to taxing those that make over $25 to $100 million. I don't know how that's going to go. What I was really looking in the one houses for were are they looking to increase the ratio of a special education student? And there's nothing in there to change it from 1.43 or whatever it is, and that was disappointing. Just an example before you see the budget. Let's just talk about health insurance. First of all, the governor's using a 2.7 CPI.
Yes.
2.7 CPI. Health insurance. Health insurance, we predicted at 10%. I believe we may be just a little bit too low there. Every percentage of health insurance increase in this district for the belly buttons we serve is an increase of $250,000 to the next budget. So we budgeted probably close to $2 million in the increase. If it goes to 12% instead of 10%, and we will know Monday, that's an additional $500,000 that will be added onto the budget. A 2.7% CPI is not going to keep up with that. A 17% administrative cost BOCES hike rate will not equate to a 2.7 CPI rate to districts. I just want to keep illustrating that to show the conundrum that Buffalo, Kenmore, and Niagara Falls and others are facing. Kenmore is so interesting to me. Their budget is almost exactly our budget, and their gap is almost exactly our gap. It's a real study, and their enrollment is dropping, so they're looking to little schools as their big ticket way to solve this 2 or 3, he's not looking to do it next year. Obviously, you got to give parents time, but this is his 2 to 3 year plan. So I know, I think some of you met Superintendent Samato, and I thought he did a really nice job at his board meeting on Tuesday. I enjoyed watching him present. It was a little bit reassuring for me because their 7-member board is hearing what our 9-member board is hearing, and the words are the same. Today, we want to give you 4 slides and go through them. The first one is the usual slide, right? Or
yes, the change in the
change. Yep. Want to put that one up? I just want to make a point about that slide again, and we'll move on quickly.
Can we do the revenue and expense slide, Ray? Thank you. Perfect, thank you.
You remember this? I'm doing it every week. So last year you allocated $4.83 million in reserves. We are now up to using 3.8.
Yes.
So it's only going to be about $1 million in carryover.
Yes.
This week, we wrote 2 checks for $500,000 to settle child victims cases. Why did it go from $3 million to 3.8? Because we wrote 2 checks for $500,000. Right there, just like that. No, it was 450 and 50,000 a total. It was on 2 cases. That's $500,000 against the children today, based on a horrendous act 40 years ago. And I am not blaming the victims. They deserve what they should get. but the children of today are suffering for that. So that's why the carryover will only be about $1 million. Accurate, Julie?
Yes.
The second slide, and stop me if I'm saying something that need clarification on. The second slide, Russ, I kind of think this came through you to us. I believe you had a call or a visit to your shop, and it was a taxpayer, and they weren't complaining about their shirts. They were asking about their star and enhanced star. Do you remember this? So I wanted Julie, for the listeners, for the board, to know this. Star and Enhanced Star, as Julie has taught me, is a program that has been designed to phase itself out.
Correct. It was designed by the state to phase out, and it was designed to reduce property tax burdens for eligible homeowners. But it is an exemption, and each year, as you can see, that exemption decreases. So I started here looking at the actual in column G. So for basic star, we started 4 years ago. The star exemption was $20,100, and then the enhanced was $50,180. Fast forward to next year for 26-27, those amounts will decrease to $13,500 and $38,745. So during that time frame, the board has maintained the levy at, it's the $25,828,989, but the state is reimbursing less through STAR and passing it on to the homeowners, which makes us, as property owners, pay higher, we see an increase in our tax bills.
Right? So I want to make 2 points, and Julie outlines this beautifully. 2 points. This was a program designed to do this. This has no reflection of the tax levy or you increasing the tax levy, which I doubt we're going to recommend doing. This was designed by the state. And in this case, I happen to get a few phone calls from time to time, and we worked through the one that came into Russ's office. But this is a program that you have to dial 1-800-Kathy-Hochul for. I can't answer this question. This is not something that we design or you design. So if people have questions about their star or enhanced star, the reason that it's changing and you may have to pay, even though you qualify it, and probably the first question will come from my mother. Mark, why am I paying my mom? It'll come from her. But anyways, and then Mrs. Dunn, who will be a lot nicer than my mother sometimes. This is a state issue, not a district issue.
Correct.
But I wanted to bring that out again, and I think we need to bring this out every year, because taxpayers are going to see this and they're going to say, what is the school doing to my star?
Right.
1-800-Kathy-Hochul. That might be too many numbers. Don't do that. It's a fake number. I just made that up. 555-5555. That's Massaro and Massaro. 55. No. He never had a catchy number like that. Back then, they had the rotary phones. No, they had the tin cannon string when he started the office. So you could have had a real fancy thing back then. Been on commercials. I would have even been on one of your commercials, Mr. Massaro. Get the tin can and the string, and call from one place to another. Slip and fall. Call me on the tin can, and I'll be there. No, I'm kidding. All right, sorry, I'm losing it a little bit. Yes, they were. Just had to wake them up over there, Chris. Keep them awake. Keep them alive. Next, we have 2 budgets for you. We prepared 2 budgets for you tonight. 2, and I'll show you why, based on a question you asked.
The red budget and blue budget?
Well, this is the green one. You'll see the red one in a second. I'll tell you why. Julie, would you go through the revenue side for us, please?
So
greens are changes.
Yes, greens are changes from last time we presented. So what has happened is that our foundation aid that we were saying, our estimated increase of that $5.3 million, that is based off of the executive budget and data, student data, and also cost factors from September. In February, the state budget unit or fiscal unit, they rerun all the data with enrollment numbers as of Beds Day. And also they update cost factors such as the economically disadvantaged rate, the wealth index, and AGI. And so we've seen a decline in our foundation aid. So overall, we had a decrease of about $1.3 million. $565,000 of that is due to a loss of enrollment of approximately 40 students, and there was a decrease in the per pupil amount. So we had been estimating to receive foundation aid of $14,972 per pupil, and that has decreased $93 a pupil. So that is reflective of the loss of nearly $800,000 that we had previously, and that was the most accurate information at the time. So as we receive the information, we want to reflect it and be accurate. So that was a loss there. So now overall our foundation aid increase is 3.2%.
Right. If you scroll up a little, Ray, can you talk about the other green in the interest?
Yes. So we're also seeing our interest income that we are earning on our CDs, that continues to decline. Our most recent interest rate we just received was 3.1%. I mean, last year we were up to 4.5%. So it's really market factors. We don't have much control over it, but we felt we needed to decrease that budget for next year just to because as those rates continue to decrease, we're just not going to be able to earn the interest we have in the prior years.
That is a basis of a market reduction that we're
Yes.
seeing. We did not want to overestimate and get too far ahead on the interest we earned. So those are not the most promising pieces of information. As we go to the other side, the expense side, yeah.
For breakage,
On the other side,
$250,000.
that's retirees. So that's retirees. So if we have a third grade teacher who's retiring at on $120,000, we're going to hire the new person back at $75,000. So there is some savings. So that's a positive thing. Yes, Russ?
Greenway, why did it do?
So Greenway, the last 3 years, we've doubled up because when we had the ARP money, we didn't need to draw down on our Greenway. So we were still receiving the $420,000. Yes. Yes, this year we're correct.
Yeah, I didn't want to use it when we didn't need to. So now I think it's time to use it. I mean, those are the decisions we're making to try to offset this gap. On the other side, and Mr. Consemi started to refer to it, I think the first one is UPK, and I think we have some we had the UPK auditor here this week, as I mentioned, with Carrie, and while she was with Carrie and myself and Julie, we got a chance to pick her brain on that number. I'm starting to feel much more comfortable and confident that if it stays in the budget, that 2.1 could be a real help to us. And that there's a possibility that we could ask for more money in there. That's how I heard it.
Yes.
That's for 405 pre-K students and pre-K 4 students, as I heard her tell it. If we had 440 pre-K students, which we have current capacity to have, we could possibly increase that line even more. So that's something that we have to look at. I feel you countermand me if you think differently, but I'm starting to feel better about that if that remains in the budget.
Yes. Yep. Agree with you.
We have started to look at, I think the first place to look is at people who are retiring and not, we don't want to put people out on the street. We don't want to. But what we have begun to do is look at some places where we don't have to replace the job for a retiree. And also starting to, and we'll have much bigger number here in 2 weeks, reflect the loss of students in maybe having a class or 3 fewer, which we haven't gotten to yet. But that may be a place that we're able to pick up some money as well. That's our next place to go. Transportation went up, Jewel?
Yes, transportation increased. We are seeing an increase in our out-of-district busing that we need to provide for this current year. So we wanted to be reflective and assume we will also need those buses next year as well.
When you do anything with attrition, you also affect ERS, TRS, and FICA.
Correct. So as we reflected the attrition in those positions, we also wanted to reflect the reduction in benefits, and so health benefits, TRS, and then the related employer FICA and Medicare tax.
We also noted last time that we have to do an asset inventory that did not roll in to the budget, but because of an audit finding, remember the ones stapling them together, we have to do this. We have to do this asset inventory. It's going to cost us $17,000 to do it. We wanted to show you that that didn't roll in, and we need to put that in there now. Remember, Ray has the cursor or the X or the plus over the 210. That's the voting number today. That's really what we're working to get to. If that's what this whole thing is about. What is the number? 210, 301, 941 on the resolution. We're not ready for that yet. We have to use the one debt service. So if you scroll up. They did. They did. No, it wasn't. Not yet. What I read today was, we'll give you more state aid if you agree to tax those making over 25 million to 100 million. That was the give and take that's going on in Albany from what I heard today. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, it would really hurt me a lot, but no, I'm kidding. I don't know. Thank you, Mr. Massaro. Yeah, oh, thank you, Nick. Thank you for all that. Yeah, I'm not even close to that. Go ahead, Tony.
Look at our summer programming. So we're planning on having our summer school. Okay, so, and that's our credit recovery for the junior high and the high school. Middle school and high school, right?
Yes.
So how far back are we going to go? Are we going to go into first grade through sixth, or?
We went back to kindergarten.
Okay.
We haven't touched it yet.
Okay.
I'm not.
Sometimes our numbers aren't too hot.
Right.
Like after the third week. I mean.
Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or anything here.
No, you're not.
Do we really think we need that extra, not credit recovery, but summer school for the young students?
It's a really interesting question, Mr. Pareto. I think what we need to recognize is what you said, and I think that a charge that we have to give and a resultant budget expense is it needs to be restructured in some way. And do I think we need to do it? Yeah, I do think we need to do it in some way.
Okay.
But we need some time to look at what that some way is. It could be, I'm making this up, so please don't hold me to this. It could be 2 5-day sessions of something. It could be smaller group tutoring. It may not have to be the traditional summer school. I do think it's something to look at. We haven't done it yet. Right now, we're back to having summer programs back to kindergarten, 12 to K. And as you correctly point out, 6 to K has not always resulted in a bang for a buck. I could hear my friend Richard Angelo Corella talking about that. It's something that Lynn and Carrie have to really start to study and possibly come up with a different model. And that with it will look to be more efficient cost-wise.
And I like what you just said. I like that maybe we need to do this, maybe more tutoring in there. It's kind of the theme.
Right.
It's a 6 year and everything.
Right.
So you don't want them to shut down and not
Right.
do things. This is sharp.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm on the fly here. Maybe instead of going for 3 straight weeks, it's 6 weeks, 2 times a week. I don't know. That could be, I think we also have to talk to parents about that. Because if parents aren't willing to do it, then what are we doing it for, right? So they're pretty key stakeholders in this.
Another thing I'm worried about is, I've coached for a bunch of years, different leagues, our teams. I feel that parents dump kids off. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's not our programming because it's excellent.
Yeah.
And it's to the point, and it helps. But you know what I'm saying?
I do.
It's just something
We create a high-quality program. Maybe we need to restructure how we do it. It's just not something that we have ingrained in this district or in this city. So Ms. Tompkins and Ms. Buckman will definitely get the charge of analyzing that and reporting before May what that looks like in terms of the summer.
In a perfect world, yeah, let's spend it, let's get that going.
Mark,
yeah, but-
and just, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you done, Tony?
I'm
No.
set, I'm done.
No, just with this summer programming, some kids, we have to tailor to some kids that need it, especially autistic kids or
Yeah.
kids with needs,
Yeah.
to get them through, because they lose so much during the summer when if they're out for 2 months of summertime.
They do.
It's too much of
Yep.
a burden on them coming back.
They
So,
do.
even if we just tailor to certain
Right,
category of kids.
Yeah.
I think we can't let them go that long without,
based on your statement, for as long as we can afford it, it's got to happen.
Yeah.
How it's going to look remains to be seen. We've learned, we've spent money, it hasn't always been efficient, I'll admit that, but we designed a beautiful program, but it has not always had the ROI or return on investment because of the commitment of time. So the bottom line is that the gap stays at 7.5 million. Between now and the 26th, I will be working to reduce that at least $1.5 to $2 million. That's going to take some work. Please, public, board members, everyone knows, this budget still doesn't affect one program or layoff or reduce one FTE. Still holding that as it does. There's 3 things I want to commit to you on it. Not one program reduction, even though we had a good conversation about summer school. Not one FTD florist. Not one FTE reduction. And what was my third point? And holding everything. Oh, not suggesting to raise the tax levy. So that's where we're at with that number. To me, it's funny. Kenmore's is 8 million. It's just so funny. To me, that's a little bit high to ask you to use reserves for right now. So we really need to, because just like they're saying in those districts, in 3 or 4 years, they'll be gone, and then where do you go? So we have some work to do. While we'll keep cleaning up the green, we do have some work to create some green to reduce that gap. And I have to tell you, in the next 2 weeks, that's going to be my sole focus with the team. There is one other budget I wanted to show you. This isn't a red budget in the Joel Giambra sense. I'm just seeing, Maria, if you got the Joel Giambra reference. That was 2003, I believe. We won't call this the red budget, but you raised the point last week, and I just wanted to show you what this would do. If you scroll up, Ray, if we did that same budget, but added the purchase that we need to cyclically make of $2,144,188, that would increase the budget to $212 million, but it would also increase the gap to, yeah, just about, Nick. I still can't see it. 10 million, or 9.6 million. That becomes even more untenable. Questions?
Went through BOCES, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it would be how much?
78%.
78% we would get back, so.
The following year.
So why don't we borrow the 2 million, pay the interest, and we'd still come out ahead?
Borrow the 2 million.
Borrow the 2 million.
Well, I think just because we have smart schools available and it's 100% reimbursement with smart schools, and we really don't know what else we can use that smart schools money for, because it's really either devices or construction, and most of the construction relating to security. We just did a capital project on, and any capital project would be aided at 98%.
I'm struggling. I don't mean to cut you off. Can I say something?
It's okay.
I'm
not done.
struggling in my head, and I completely get the reimbursement. I completely get it. But I'm struggling in my head, and maybe I'm going to be proven wrong, how we're ever going to spend that $2.8 million.
Well, the 2.8 million, is it good for until we use it?
There's no expiration date now for smart schools.
Okay, so we're talking 2 million. If we borrowed 2 million at 6%, costs us 140,000? 150,000, whatever. we'll get back 80%, we'll get back 1.6 million.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll spend 150,000 to get back 1.6 million and still have that $2 million of our smart schools. This is crazy. Spend it to 160,000 and keep 2 million.
But then we're dipping into our reserves or.
No, borrow it. Just pay the interest. Or take it from yourself. You'll have an opportunity cost of the interest you'll lose. But you'll save 1.6 million.
The expense would still be in the general fund though, so smart schools, and I guess I should say that the smart schools is funded under a capital fund. So it doesn't touch the general fund. So smart schools, that would come in under the capital fund, so not affecting this budget, where if we purchase the laptops through the general fund, through BOCES, we will have to take either from we can't take from a reserve because that's not, there's not an allowable reserve for that. That would have to come from our unassigned fund balance.
Right, the 4%.
Yes, our 4%. So we would have to appropriate fund balance for that. And yes, we would get 78% back in the subsequent year, but.
You still have the 2 million.
What are you gonna do 2 years from now? When you don't have that revenue? And the budget's got that. I have two questions, and I want to ask this in the most respectful way. Because now we're getting into conversations we used to have in your office. Can I say it this way?
Sure.
You know I'm saying. Yeah, with all the stuff in there when I'm tripping over stuff. Please.
Student enrollment went up. We found a few.
There were the 40, well, I found the 42 kids there, and I can't keep finding them since you sold the business. Is your thinking, and I mean to be respectful, is your thinking to, I'm trying to understand why you don't want to touch that smart schools money, and when are you going to touch it?
Well, there's always going to be a roof or a boiler or something that's going to go up the road. If it's indefinite savings.
You can't use it. You can't get it for a boiler.
Well, whatever you could use it for, eventually you're going to use it. And it's costing you 150 grand to save 1.6 million.
Why wouldn't you? I don't
want to put you on the spot. Maybe you guys got to look at this.
Yeah. Why? Let me just. No, I just want to ask you a question, and I mean this respectfully, please.
Of course.
Why wouldn't you take that purchase and say you're right? Again, this is off the record. I think you're going to have to need another capital project soon. Why don't we do it there and get 98% of it back instead of 78% of it back? Why would I do it at 78%? Okay, you're right. We're going to need stuff. We're going to need, I don't know, door locks, door hardening, I don't know, new doors, whatever.
No, you're missing the point.
I must be.
Yeah, the point is you're spending the money and getting it back. You're spending, let's just use the number, you're spending $2 million, and next year you're going to get 80% of it back. You're going to get 1.6 million. You don't have the 2 million this year. So you borrow the 2 million and pay the interest. So instead of having 2 million in your cap, you're going to spend 150,000 of the 2 million. You still have that in your capital fund project that you could use for smart schools up the road. If you do it your way, you're burning the 2 million.
I'm surprised that you would want to use $150,000 to pay interest that gets us nothing.
To say what?
I'm surprised,
yes,
respectfully, that you would want to pay $150,000 worth of interest on something.
Well, yeah, because you're saving 2 million. It's still in your pocket. Why don't we look at this?
All right.
Look at it. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, I think we did, and so if I could just, so
Go ahead.
now, if you see the gap, so right now our gap would be 9.6. If this is the way we were gonna do it, if we were trying to fill this gap, there's only, so the reserve money can only be, you can only use the workers' comp reserve for workers' comp expenses, you can only use EBLARs for terminal leaves. So if we just say we're gonna use 4 million of reserves, that means we have to use 5.6 of fund balance, and right now our fund balance is 8.1. So we're just taking from our unassigned pot, and I just feel that leaves us very vulnerable.
Yeah.
with no,
It's super vulnerable. It just, no, it's a great argument. It's a great discussion. I just also want to know that I really think you'll get a susceptible, what's worse than susceptible?
yes, fiscal stress. So
You
that
will be labeled a district there's 7 districts in New York State right now. You'll be labeled a district under fiscal stress.
How much are our reserves now?
our reserves are at, and I'm only because we have the 8 million, 42 million. But the reserves can only be used for those specific purposes, where that unassigned fund balance of 8 million, that's where we'd have to pull from to fund that 2 million. So it would, our operating deficit would increase. That would throw us into a higher level of being susceptible to fiscal stress.
I can't disagree with that.
Okay.
I can't disagree with that, but you still got 35 million in reserves.
Right, because we can't, our reserve money will still be there, but the unassigned, correct, reserves are assigned. Our unassigned, we would be running our unassigned pot almost too low.
Okay, but my question is, if you don't use reserves and borrow the money, what does that do?
Well, but borrowing the money would only help for the cash flow purposes, not for like the financial statement.
But the reserves are still there, right? You still have the reserves. It wouldn't affect your reserves. It would reflect your liability.
Yes, but we would still have our expense of our expenses would still be 2 million higher if we purchased through the general fund versus purchasing.
Agreed, but it wouldn't affect your reserves.
It would affect our unassigned fund balance.
We'd have to use the money in the unassigned fund balance.
I'm saying borrow.
But the borrowing just gives us the cash, we still have the expense.
Just be careful of the arbitrage. Making money and borrowing money.
We're not making money on it, we're just getting reimbursed.
Yeah.
We're not borrowing money, making money, we're
No.
I would argue that point.
No, I'm not looking, I don't hear you saying that.
No, I'm just saying,
I know what arbitrage is.
Angela's saying it, but no, I don't think
We
so.
all, yeah.
I know what you're saying, but we're not borrowing money to make money, we're borrowing money to get reimbursed.
Yeah. Your bond rating will go down.
Pardon me?
I believe your bond rating will go down.
You borrow 2 million, and you get 1.6 million back. What happens to the other 400,000?
That's an expense.
Pay off your note.
That's an expense, but your balance sheet still has the 2 million. Next year, your balance sheet will be better because you're gonna get the 1.6 million back that you're spending this year.
Yeah. What are you gonna do in 3 years?
3 years, I got 2 million that you already blew.
Okay. All right.
You know what? I'll come and see you.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the fiscal stress. I can't answer that. That's what.
No, it'll happen.
That's what you young ladies do. If you feel that 2 million would do that, I get that.
And run our unassigned fund balance
To
very low.
to half, to 2%.
Correct. Just because we can't close this gap with reserve. That would have to be funded through fund balance.
I have a question. If we did do this, that 1.6 million we would get back next year, where would that go? Would that go into the unassigned fund balance?
It would in 27, 28.
So if we bite the bullet this year, we'd get it back next year.
No, because next year, well, it's hard for me to answer this question because in 2 years, you got to buy these same computers for the high school kids.
Right.
If you look at the progression of the next 3 or 4 years, you're setting yourself for a very high budget and very little reserves. Does that make sense?
It does, and we experienced that when we made these purchases 5 years ago, because if you remember, we had that BOCES cliff where we saw that
That's
large
right.
reduction in BOCES aid, so it artificially inflates your aid 1 year. To the next year, you have to
Right.
account for that through reductions through expenses.
Right. You'll get the money back in your aid, and then it'll drop. Well, you know what? We're not going to solve it here.
Yeah, no,
We're not going
that's
to solve
fine.
it here. Great argument. I'm going to say it respectfully, and, you know, maybe I should move away from this argument. I just don't know, we've set, and I guess it's not fair to say this, but we've sat on that 2.8 million as a reserve amount. I can't think of what you're going to use it on. It's money in the bank that will get you another year without even having to use $500,000. That's all I'm thinking. To me, there's no magic in buying them from BOCES.
Well, there's another point, and I promise to stop, I'll come and see you. The $2 million that you didn't spend is gonna earn you $200,000 a year in interest.
No, so
On
that-
the other side. Pardon me? No, the money you don't spend. The money you don't spend.
The money we don't spend in the reserves?
The $2 million you were gonna spend in reserves to buy the computers, excuse me, the $2 million taken out of smart schools, you're not gonna spend it. So you will earn the interest on the $2 million, which will offset the loan.
But we don't have the 2 million. It's just funds we can tap.
We have to apply for it.
Okay, I'm
No, we
sorry.
don't own that money.
No, I didn't know you. I
It's in a
thought you-
bank account in Albany.
Correct. They won't.
Albany has the money.
Yeah, we have to apply, well, we already applied for it, but
No, but I understand. I thought it was our money.
it's not our money.
Okay, that argument goes. That's out.
Yeah, that's
I'll come and
just,
see you.
that's the
We'll have some
number.
fun.
Good, you know what, then I could be a little bit more animated. Good discussion. You know what I think we should do, Julie? Take Molly and have this argument in Russ's office. That would really,
Old time dog come up. We'll have some fun.
yeah, you know, it's Marquesia, right? We'll have to get you what are those suits, those white suits called, Mike? Where you, hazardous materials suit. We have to get you a Tyvek suit. Have you ever been in there? No. Oh, good.
Self-contained breathing.
We have to get you a Tyvek suit, and, you know, we'll get you in there. Okay, thank you, everybody. We have an agenda review and a few updates. The next meeting is on the 26th. You have audit committee at 4. We explain what the audit committee will be talking about with the the two recommendations. The Buffalo Niagara River Keepers, that's a program that we have 34 high school kids in. And it's a 3-credit program, and I want you to hear about it because it's another pathway about environmental science. We'll have a nice, easy 2-minute conversation about the budget with no arguments. And I'm kidding, you know I'm kidding. And then we'll go through the agenda. We will definitely need an executive session on that evening. Moving ahead, we have 4 bids for this meeting, and I am not trying to go too fast. We have, I believe, Julie and Marquesia, nothing changed. The apparent low bidders are the Book Corner, Local, ERB, is that what you call it, Tony? ERB, Stewart Sports, and Sherwin-Williams for paint. That's what we're going to recommend to you. Maria will come up in a minute. The short-term contracts are winding down for Say Yes. The first one is a program at Niagara Falls High School and through the media program, and then numbers 2 through 6 are for Saturday academies. Number 7 is Sources of Strength. This is an interesting one. This is a suicide prevention program that was brought to us by Senator Ort almost 10 years ago, and we are reinstituting it at Niagara Falls High School. Yeah, it's a really good program. Actually, Madison Del Porto is going to be the advisor for it. Lumber City Sports is for de-escalation training. I know it sounds a bit aggressive, but Lumber City Sports is for de-escalation training. Over the falls, we wanted to send our robotics kids in class, so we had an Over the Falls bus to take them to the STEM state championships. Gaskill is going to Washington, D.C. Cold Gnarly is a big picture music production program. And number 13, She Drums. If you've gone to any Saturday Academy, it's really cool. We have our Walk the World on the 18th at Niagara Falls High School with all the cultures represented. Walk the World is going to have She Drums at it. You will see me with a snare and bass drum at that time. I'm going to hit it with the palm of my hand and think about Smart Schools money. I'll say when he comes back in here. We had to change the budget calendar, so this is to ask for you to do this. We have a meeting on the 26th. Our next meeting was supposed to be April 2nd, which is right smack dab in the middle of spring break. So we're asking to move the meetings in April to the 16th and the 23rd through this resolution. So back to back in April. The 16th and 23rd. The polling places, the public hearing will be on May 7th for the budget. Judy's election inspectors are here, including as the only district in New York State, I believe, Judy. Do you know any other district do this? Student election inspectors?
I certainly don't know any who are using more than 1 or 2. I have at least 10, and I'm hoping to have 20.
12?
I have 10, and I'm hoping to have 20.
I'd love to have 20, and we'll have one at every site. And if I'm reading the resolutions in preparation for the meeting, the elections inspectors and for our election will receive a stipend or honorarium of $187.50, including the students.
That's correct. Yes, the students will function and serve as fully functioning election inspectors, the same as any adult working the poll.
And they have to be at least 17 or 18.
They have to be at least 17 and registered or pre-registered to vote.
In addition to that, a student will receive $25 for going to the training, which they must go to.
That's correct, and there's really no reason that a polling site couldn't choose to make one of the students the chair, which would be an additional $30.
So we talk about pathways. I think it's a really cool pathway. Thank you. Thank you, Judy Glasser. Mr. Macri is ready to use pesticides to spray for ticks. Has that been scheduled? When is it? April 3rd, weather permitting. Both the fields around LaSalle Prep and Niagara Falls High School. We want to keep kids safe, of course, and our maintenance workers safe. We are applying for the next 5 years, Richard, to the Head Start extension. This is to put the extension for 5 more years of Head Start. 609, Cheryl and Cheryl just presented that. 610, this is Aries Transportation. Just a point on this, Aries provides special vans for our students and special needs. If Niagara Falls Coach Lines cannot do it, we'll use Aries for a better delivery, and we'll charge this back, because I've already done it once, or already done it 3 times. I'm going to charge the costs of Aries back to Niagara Falls Coach Lines. That is not something that we can afford to take on, but we do need to have an agreement with them. We're doing them a favor. And 611 is for more restorative training. Going ahead, there are your 16th and 23rds. Of course, there'll be the budget and other topics. And those are the agenda items. I do anticipate, if you'd scroll back, Ray, so I could see it, there will be an additional, I don't know if Judy will make it 612 or which one, but Jacqueline will send Judy Glasser 612, which will be the cap for the internal claims audit, which will have the 2 items on it that we mentioned earlier. That's the report. We do have personnel, Maria, and then I have a few updates. While you're waiting, I would like to get back into the smart schools discussion. I'm kidding, Russ. No, you know what? While she's doing this, we in our we always meet with the president and vice president, and we thought of a segment we might want to do. We thought of this, Mr. Macri, in honor of your mom. This is called Susie Macri's Electrical Moment, and I'm sorry, Maria, to cut you off, and I know it's getting late. But we thought what we would do is call it, because her son is a very good electrician. He's still an electrician? We thought we'd call this Susie Mac. This is, by the way, Mr. Bilson's brainchild. We thought we'd call this Susie Macri's Electrical Moment, Maria. And during our pre-board meeting with Mr. Bilson and Mr. Pareto yesterday, the meeting came to a complete stop when Mr. Bilson was asking some electrical questions, and Mr. Pareto scolded him for something. Would you like to go through your electrical minute, Mr. Pareto?
All right. Well, it was he was having problems at his home, and he had water in his panel, and
You're not doing this justice, by the way.
okay, so let's do this like a lesson.
You were going to have a student film this. It was going to be a YouTube channel thing. It was going to be powered by Pareto. He was going to do a 1 minute, kind of like Mr. Ick when we were all kids. Tony, you're blowing it.
Okay, I can do that.
We all can learn from this, though. This is for everybody's
Okay,
learning.
folks, this is for all you folks in the audience. And all you folks out there in TV land, because I'm old, so or on the World Wide Web. When you have to reset a breaker in a live panel, it is common practice. You identify the tripped or off breaker. You put your hand on the breaker. Before you turn that breaker on, you do not look at that breaker. You turn your head. So after you identify the breaker, turn your head. And then you go to the on position. And the reason for that is because if there's a direct short on the other end of it, it will flash on you. And it could cause damage to your eyes, your face. So that's why you put the hand
Russ,
on the,
come
you
on.
identify the breaker.
I didn't know it.
You identify the breaker and you turn your face away. And when you turn it, because if there is a short or there's water in your panel, it can spark and it can cause an arc, and that arc can hurt your eyesight and your wonderful face. You see?
Ladies and gentlemen, that was powered by Pareto.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. This is what we did yesterday.
It would have been, listen, this was, by the way, it was not my idea. Mark tried to give me credit. This was all Mark's idea in his post-hip surgery stupor that he's in. And by the way, it would have been much funnier had we not had the playful banter between you and Russ about the budget. So next time we do Power by Pareto first before budget.
Yeah, so, yeah, it must have been something that happened during the surgery I had. But boy, what a meeting. What a meeting. Maria, could you take us back to the personnel report?
I really can't. I wish I had gone first. So, anyway, we're going to have a classified report and a certificated report. Starting with the classified report, we have several resignations. These are individuals who are leaving our district.
Yes.
Probationary appointments of an early Head Start teacher and a senior school monitor, Winnie Baban. Leave of absence and involuntary transfers. In addition to that, you'll see some after-school programming and some Say Yes Academy extra hour work for our classified staff. There will be additions to both of these reports next meeting, and there will also be an addendum.
Right, I wanted to.
Yes.
So, it will be, there are 4 contracts that we've discussed that will be addended. Is that how it comes?
Yes. Amended. Well, actually renewed, but yes.
Yeah, renewed contracts that become addended to the report.
Addended to the report.
Okay.
Yes. 2 retirements that have recently come in for the certificated staff. Regular substitute appointment of a teaching assistant, regular substitute 60-day conversion, and then the rest of the report is per diem in all the schedules. The de-escalation training that you're seeing there on page 3 of 7 is what Mr. Laurie was talking about when we were talking about the Lumber City contract, the Lumber City short-term contract in front of you there. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact me, but you will see additions to both of these reports and an addendum with 4 contracts attached to it.
Right, so you will receive those on the Tuesday prior to the 26th. You'll receive those on the 24th. We have talked about those contracts in executive session. You'll see them reflected there along with any other asterisks. Kind of thin now, but I have a feeling in the next 2 months, you and Mr. Wotton are going to be doing a lot of work. A lot of work, and these are going to get real thick.
Yes, sir, Mr. Laurie.
Why are you laughing? I'm sorry, we're sorry about the Pareto power moment. But as Ms. Dunn whispered, we have to you all come here, and we also have this time to have fun and relax too. And Mr. Pareto, and I'm learning Mr. Bilson, the meetings are quite fun when you're on. Yeah, oh yeah, it kind of loses something from the first time it happens live when Mr. Pareto does it. It's just an amazing.
I think it was a full recovery, and quite honestly, the last 30 seconds was fantastic.
I have a couple of updates, and then we'll close the meeting. Huge congratulations to Miss Clara Dunn, Miss Mia Crumpton, Mr. Alan Coward. This Saturday evening, they will be receiving Black Achiever Awards at a sold-out event. I believe there are 12 Black Achiever Awards being presented. The school district has 3 of them. So I am really honored. Ms. Dunn, Mr. Cowart, who's an assistant principal, Ms. Crumpton, who is a counselor, will be recognized. I don't want to forget the people that will be giving up their crowns. Mr. Bass is giving up his crown. He was a recipient last year. Dorothy Brundage was a recipient. And one Marcasia McCreary was a recipient last year. So Marcasia, this is really your last 3 days with your crown. And you'll have to turn it in, but you are, so in the last 2 years, we've had 6 recipients, and I can't think of 6 better people, so congratulations. Pi Day is tomorrow at Niagara Falls High School. Pi Day, actually Pi Day is Saturday, 3/14 is Saturday, right? But Niagara Falls High School is going to celebrate Pi Day tomorrow in the morning. It'll be led by our STEM teachers. Also, we won't be together until after the 19th, 20th, and 21st. That is when All Shook Up will be performed at Niagara Falls High School. 7 p.m. show, 1 p.m. matinee on Saturday. The shows are always a lot of fun. All Shook Up is a great show. I believe that's Elvis, an Elvis show? Correct. You're not playing Elvis, are you?
No, but I'm proud to say Blair Bilson will be in the show.
Blair will be in the show.
And are you performing as well? No, this is cool.
Oh, this is
adults in the play.
There's
adults in the play.
Do they need a grandma or something?
They need, listen, stop shortchanging yourself.
No, I'm not, it's true.
The bottom line is, get out to see All Shook Up. All right? That's the bottom line.
We just had like our own little conversation.
Yeah, I know.
It was great.
You know, you let a little freelance go. Some of the pain medication's wearing off, and it's.
I just think it's because you're on your final run.
My final run.
You're just letting it all out.
Rob, as Bob Seger said, my famous final scene. You know that song?
I don't.
Look it up. I want to congratulate a Niagara Falls High School student. This is amazing. Tori Frank. Tori is an honors student, a scholar student, and a diver. State qualifier. I want to say 5th place in New York State in diving. Tori received a congressional appointment to the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis. She is going to the Navy, and she goes to Niagara Falls High School, and she will also be on the diving team. She was recruited through diving, but you don't just walk into the Naval Academy. You know that, and she went to Niagara. She's going to Niagara Falls High School. She is a humble, hardworking young lady. It's just great when we have a commission to go to one of the branches, and Tori will represent us. Congratulations! How about this for Women Power? We had 3 students qualify for robotics, which is now in St. Louis, Missouri. And only 3 women this year: Essie Joyce, Dakota Dixon, and Nora Garino. Will be our 3 STEM recipients, 3 robotics recipients going. Robotics has continued to take off. I know Mr. Zimmerman should get credit because it started off highly LaSalle based, but Gaskill is starting to hold their own in that program now too. So super proud of them. Congratulations to these students, Elias Rodriguez and Madison Graham. Elias finished in 2nd place in restaurant services, and Madison 3rd place in culinary arts in the Skills USA competition. We are proud of them. And I received I want to talk about the music program, just an incredible email from a parent with respect to all-county band. We don't offer string in our district, but two of our teachers, Lynn, would you help me? Chelsea's last name is Key. Chelsea Key is a music teacher at Abbott, and Mike Quinn, who you met here, are two of our music teachers. Miss Stephanie Barros, who has a daughter at 79th Street, wrote to me to talk about Chelsea Key and Mike Quinn and how they helped get her daughter, without having a district string program, into the all-county performance. And the mother was overwhelmed by how much above and beyond the teachers went to help a string instrument player qualify for all-county. She's a violinist. So, Ms. Barrows, thank you for your letter. I did want to share that publicly, and congratulations to Liliana, who did all the work, but also Quinn and Key for your great work. Members of the board, we have no executive session. We were able to hopefully spend the beginning of this meeting talking about our unfortunate incident, and we do have much more work to do on that. We are into, after tomorrow, we're into our final 2 weeks before spring recess. And the second trimester ends in the next 2 weeks, and we're getting close to the last 10 weeks of school. So this is a tough time. It's been a long haul, and just wish our staff, our students, protection, safety, and let's finish up these last 2 weeks really strong. No executive session this evening. We will need one, however, next time. Mr. President, Mr. Powered by Pareto, that is all I have for this meeting, and I thank you for your attention, and I enjoyed very much the conversation. I love those financial debates. I do. I'm trying to learn the budget. I will learn it soon, but I really love it. I love it. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Any comments by board members, or do you want to just go home? Same for next week? All right, well, everybody be safe, all right? Travel well, and be healthy. Go Bills.